Well, now we have the chief guest who needs no introduction, but I have a duty to perform. At a very young age, Sir has achieved a huge stature as a respected politician, a dedicated social worker, an entrepreneur and promoter, and yes, an absolutely amazing orator. Mr. Jassi Khangura, popularly known as Mr. Jassi Khangura, our chief guest for today. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and a loud round of applause.
Dr. Abraham Thomas, dignitaries on the dais, members of the CMC faculty, office bearers of the Paediatric Endoscopic Surgeons of India, students of the Christian Medical College, distinguished guests. As a legislator from Ludhiana, it gives me great pleasure that this 6th annual conference cum workshop is being held in Ludhiana. Whether it is a last minute change or a planned change, that doesn't matter. I think Ludhiana is richer for the fact that this is taking place in a city and a district that I have so much to do with. I think the moment you give the dais to a politician, there is a danger that politicians will run on and on and on. I'm not a practicing doctor, I'm not a medical expert, so I cannot even begin a discussion on the subject matter. What I am is a policymaker, and I think policymakers very often devalue the significance of these type of interactions. Very often policymakers feel that these are jaunts that should not be funded. I disagree with that. Maybe partly because of my own medical background. I think these are excellent opportunities, not only for you to present your papers, because that gives you a lot of professional satisfaction, but the ability to present your information, findings, conclusions and recommendations. I think that is how you progress in any science, not least pediatric endoscopic surgery, which is a super specialty. I wish you all every success for this conference. As a policymaker, I am never short of an opinion. Those of you who are from Ludhiana, from Punjab, may have read some of my opinions certainly in the local press. I'm an opposition MLA. Therefore, my ability to influence healthcare policy or health policy in this state government is very limited. But what I would like to do is I would like to applaud the increased funding for healthcare in the union budget. The fact that the National Rural Health Mission has had a very significant increase in funding, almost of the order of 30%, and now represents 2% of our GDP, I think is a very significant step. There is a long way to go, because 2% of GDP as a union budget falls a long way short of where it needs to be. But we are a poor country, we have different priorities. Whereas, in a mature, developed economy, the provision of food isn't a fundamental task of the government. In a poor country like India, that is where government policy starts. But I think that in years to come, as India gets richer, you will see union expenditure and state expenditure increasing significantly. And I would like to see it, I would like to think that maybe within a generation or two, we can match the types of expenditure, per capita expenditure, that exists in Europe today, possibly within 2 generations. If you look at state budgets, they are absolutely pitiful, absolutely pitiful. I remember a few years ago, I was seated next to the then Health Minister for Punjab, and I asked him, and I said, your budget as a percentage of the state budget, do you know what the figure is? And the minister did not really have a clue. There is a significant underfunding, state underfunding for healthcare, And that is one of the issues that I will be lobbying for in the next government, in which I hope to have a significant say. When you compare the state provision in Punjab and you compare it with states outside Punjab, you go to Kerala, you go to Tamil Nadu, I think you will find a much better level of healthcare provision by the state governments. And that is something that has to be a target for the government of Punjab. We cannot be blind to what else is going on in India. Yes, there may be other priorities. Agriculture is a tremendous priority for Punjab because we are the food grain of the country. Therefore, we need to fund power, we need to fund irrigation. But we must not lose sight of the fact that it is the health of today's generation that determines the future economy of Punjab. Politicians and lawmakers should not lose sight of that. I'm still trying to remember who taught me pediatrics at Guy's Hospital in London. Our distinguished guest, Gordon Kenzie, might be able to remind me. I think it was Prof. Tynan back in 86 and 87. So I remember the 2 or 3 months that I spent with him very, very fondly. I can't remember much of what he told me, but he told it at the time pretty well. I had an opportunity to address a wider audience on Republic Day. And one of the things that I feel passionately about in terms of healthcare policy is the failure of governments to provide effective healthcare in rural India. It is a question of resources, because resources are always lacking. Whether it is the National Health Service in the UK, whether it is public and private expenditure in the States, United States of America, you will always find there being a demand for greater resources. But it isn't just a question of resources. There are issues of medical professionals wishing to work predominantly in the cities and not in the rural areas. That is something that policymakers have to turn their attention to. And then there is the question of efficacy. You know, when you're talking of something as specialized as pediatric endoscopic surgery and other specialities, you can only deliver these specialities when you have a concentration of resources. And in a rural environment, it is not possible to concentrate those resources. So somehow, lawmakers and administrators have to come up with a better solution to the delivery, effective delivery of healthcare services in rural Punjab and in rural India. We are still a poor state, and we are still a poor state in a poor nation. Even though Punjab today might be industrializing at a very rapid rate, the majority, overwhelming majority of our population still lives in our villages and in our small towns. And it is there that the government has to look at. Not in the cities, but in those villages and in the small towns. Is the government able to discharge its remit for the provision of healthcare services in those areas? Frankly, today it is not. There is a significant room for improvement, and that is something that I hope to work for in the next administration. We have elections in the state of Punjab due within a year, and if there is a change of government, then clearly I will have an opportunity to influence healthcare policy in the next administration. I won't carry on. I could say a lot of other things, but I will resist the opportunity today. I would just like to congratulate you all on hosting this conference in Ludhiana. I wish you well for the next 3 days. I think you will all professionally enjoy the proceedings here. I once again congratulate Dr. Thomas and his team who put together this conference. I wish you all well for the next 3 days. All the best. Goodbye.